Everybody, the Simple Handicap for Thursday, December 5th. Thank you for making me a part of your morning. Hope everybody's Thursday is off to a fantastic start. We get started with NFL Week number 14 tonight, and we'll get you started right now for your day with the NFL Market Rundown. As mentioned, it is the Packers on the road at the Detroit Lions tonight. The Lions, a soft 3.5-point favorite. Chris this morning, 3.5 minus 105 at Circus Sports in Las Vegas. Pinnacle, FanDuel, DK, BetOnline, all 3.5, even money, 2 minus 105. Total 51.5. We have clarity, more so, on the Lions' injury status, as they'll be down multiple defensive linemen, all the injuries up front. But to me, as we've kind of been hinting at and talking about the two big returnees in the defensive backfield with Carlton Davis as well as Emmanuel Moseley expected to make his season debut tonight for the Lions. And so I do think, in addition to the injuries up front on the defensive line as well at linebacker, you get a bit of a offsetting injury report with some of these guys coming back in the defensive backfield. Now, on the Packers side, not really being talked about a lot. And that's not fair. I'll backstab it and say it is being talked about, but it's being talked about in a different manner. Yesterday, Adam Schefter had a tweet that went out, and it was, here's the Lions report, down multiple guys. And he phrased it in a way that was like, wow, this is pretty dire. We've been hearing about the Lions injury situation all week. Let's not forget about the Packers injury report, which didn't come with commentary from Schefter. It didn't come with commentary from others. Romeo Doubs, not going to return. Jair Alexander, still out. You're also looking at Ballantyne missing, another defensive backfield defender, and also Edgerrin Cooper at linebacker, not as impactful as a player as those other three, but still, it's your best corner. It's your best wide receiver. Both of those guys not going to be on the field, so there's some injury negativity with the Green Bay Packers as well. I'm just saying, we're seeing a big move here. We're seeing a big adjustment. You're going to hear about the injuries more and more and more tonight. You're going to hear about it on the broadcast. I think the price, as I've talked about quite a bit this week, it's gotten down pretty low on the Lions, in my opinion. Let's get to the games on Sunday. Atlanta on the road at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings still 5.5-point favorites. Total in this game, 45.5 from left to right across the screen. Not a whole lot to talk about in this matchup. Saints on the road at the Giants. You want to talk about injuries, and you want to talk about issues. You're looking at the Giants now with multiple guys on the offensive line banged up. They just placed their best defensive lineman on IR earlier this week. And Banks, Illuminor, Neal, Nunez, Roaches, and Okereke, all DNPs, all expected to be week to week for the Giants. And so it has been Saints money coming into the market. Was around 4 yesterday. We're seeing 4.5 this morning. There have been some 5s flashing on the screen. Hasn't fully got there yet. Total, with the announcement that Drew Lock is going to be starting at quarterback for the Giants, went up from 40 to the current price of 41 this morning. Jacksonville on the road at the Tennessee Titans. Trevor Lawrence placed on IR. His season is over. As expected, a bad injury, shoulder, concussion. Got really bad for Trevor Lawrence in a hurry. No movement on this point spread, as that was fully expected. I don't think anybody believed that he could play, and has still been Jacksonville money is the most noteworthy move so far this week. We're looking at the Titans as 3.5-point favorites this morning. Still holding steady is the total as well, 39.5 or 40. Las Vegas on the road at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers got as low as 6.5 yesterday. It was 6.5 flat across the board after, in my opinion, a very telling move that reminded me a lot of the Cardinals from last week. We saw the 7s wiped out down to 6.5 flat. This number's creeping back up a little bit more now towards 7 as the limits get a little bit higher in the week. Some disagreement with that move that came through on Tuesday. Total in this game still holding steady at 46 left to right across the screen. Cleveland on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very little movement in this game on the side. It's been a very soft 7 or 6.5 everywhere you look since the reopened Tuesday morning. On the total, a little bit of under money showing on the market. A Steelers game being bet under. Can you believe it? A Browns game being bet under. Can you believe it? 44s now looking like they're wiped out as we see 43.5, the number at Circa this morning. Same thing over at FanDuel and DK, two biggest regulated shops in the market. Likely to see these 44s continue to trend down. Carolina on the road at the Philadelphia Eagles. Devontae Smith back in practice and full on a Wednesday. He is going to return for the Philadelphia Eagles like they need more help on offense. We've seen the 12.5 mostly cleared out on the board as we see Chris 13 minus 110, the high price in the board as the number starts to move back up in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. 46 was the ceiling on this total, still holding there currently. New York Jets on the road at the Miami Dolphins. Sauce Gardner does not sound like he is going to be active in this game for the New York Jets. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, and Jeff Ulbrich at practice after in his pressers said that if you don't have a 100% hamstring to play against the speed that the Miami Dolphins have at wide receiver, that is a problem. For the Dolphins, keep an eye on their defensive backfield, multiple DBs on the injury report to start the week. Today will be a very telling day for practice. Jets money into the market so far from pros. Easy way to look at this is the Dolphins closed 7 against the Pats. Are you putting the Jets and the Pats on the same level? I think there's disagreement in that, as bad as the Jets have looked. Seattle on the road at the Arizona Cardinals, down as low as 44, and is that going to be the stopping point? Is that going to be the point of resistance? Perhaps. I'm starting to get a little bit intrigued by this total. It's under money earlier in the week, and now we're starting to see signs later in the week. This total's creeping up a little bit. Still 2.5 for Arizona, but think about where that game closed between these two a couple weeks ago. It was outdoors, it was in rain, and now you have this must win to keep the playoff hopes alive and the desperation that spurs on in the second half, plus two teams with quarterbacks that can certainly move the ball downfield. I know the defenses on both sides have been looking good, but how low is too low here for a total in this game indoors? Buffalo on the road at the LA Rams. Matthew Stafford injury, no notable news on it, as he was a participant at practice yesterday for the LA Rams. Some back and forth on just what the extent of the ankle injury actually is for him. It's something worth keeping an eye on as the week progresses. It could be something that is a little bit more impactful in-game than anything else, but not much news really coming out about it after it was reported earlier in the week by Jordan Rodriguez. Haven't seen too much more of a follow-up on that. We are seeing Rams money trickle back into the market. 5s were wiped out. 4.5s are now wiped out as the Bills are 4-point favorites, the lowest they have been this week across the board. Chicago on the road at San Francisco. Not much movement on this game. Several players for the Bears found themselves on the injury report with the new head coach driving the show in Thomas Brown. Seems like he is treating players a little bit differently than what we were getting from Eberflus and the previous regime, if you will. Keenan Allen, as well as DJ Moore, hit the injury report. Unclear if this is going to be something more than just guys being held back because they are dealing with injuries from last Thursday. But with the couple extra days of rest and not being able to go on Wednesday, perhaps there's a little bit of smoke to this fire that we'll have to keep an eye on. LA Chargers on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs 4-point favorites across the board with a total of 42.5. Ladd McConkey very limited in practice yesterday. I might be on the wrong side of things with the injury estimation. I do get the impression with participation yesterday, if he participates today as well, he is more likely to go than not. I'm not stepping back from my stance that he is far from 100% and is not going to be a full contributor in this game. Could be wrong. We'll see. I was a little bit surprised to see him with initially getting the week-to-week designation and even the back and forth yesterday morning on how he was handled. For him to be at least present at practice was a bit of a surprise to me yesterday. And so continuing to watch this, but the Chiefs holding steady at 4 across the board. And then Monday Night Football at Cincinnati on the road at Dallas. Wasn't a full day of practice yesterday for the Cowboys with the adjusted schedule, but what was visible to the public was that CeeDee Lamb was not present at practice, dealing with the re-aggravation of the AC joint. We'll see tomorrow, on the big day of practice on Friday, if he is able to go or not. That's going to be the more telling day. Today's acting more like a Wednesday would. Yesterday was more a return out of the mini-bye. So his status is obviously going to be very impactful to this number, as he is the main cog in that Cowboys offense. If you did not watch the full live stream preview for NFL 14, that is up on the podcast feed on Apple or Spotify. And hey, if you're here on YouTube this morning, there's a subscribe button down below, and you can also go to the channel and you can find that video with the timestamps included. Same thing for the podcast as well, where you can jump around from game to game to get more discussion, as well as keep an eye on that pinned comment below in the live stream video for any additional ads between now and Sunday. Have a fantastic Thursday, everybody. We'll chat with you again tomorrow morning.